Hello everyone, welcome back to part 3 of the walkthrough for the game Othercide. So, we are at day 3 and we have a couple of missions to do, or a couple of synapses to close. Actually, I call it synopsis, but yeah, that's not correct. I used to call it synopsis, but it's actually synapse. So we have a rescue mission or a hunt mission. We will prioritize doing the rescue mission first because that will give us a resurrection token. So a rescue mission, we have to escort and save the bright soul. It's almost like a VIP mission for like the game XCOM. Basically, you have to save a VIP. All right. So let's get started to the mission. So it is on a map called the Quarantine Bridge. Now, I'm not a big fan of this map because it is actually a quite difficult map. So, let's get to it. We can see the map is open, but it's actually not an open map. And the threats are the Plague Doctor, Plague Guard, and the Plague Butcher.
We must prepare to pay any price.
Alright, so Synapse, Bright Soul. Reach the escape area, then use a leave skill.
As the plague ravaged the city, they trapped the healthy within.
Okay, reach the escape area, then use the leave skill for the Bright Soul. And each daughter, you will lose if the Bright Soul is killed. Alright, the Bright Soul is like the VIP in XCOM, extremely weak and extremely squishy. Now they can tank one hit early on in the game, however in the late game, they're not able to tank a hit. So do not use them as a cannon fodder. They will not be able to handle it. So the Quarantine Bridge is a very interesting map. You can see it's got train tracks on the bridge, and what you can also see is that the bridge is obviously destroyed or blown apart, obviously to quarantine people. So almost reminds you of a movie, right? So the bridge is destroyed. You can see the collapsed bridge. You can also see the collapsed trains. This is a collapsed train. This is also a collapsed train. So this map is very difficult because of the choke points. So there's a choke point here where only one daughter can move through at a time. So later on you will get skills that can teleport or bypass enemies, and they spawn enemies right here. I think this tile or this tile just to block you so you can't get through. So this is a very dangerous map. If you ever get trapped here, it's a disaster because you can't get to the evac zone. It's like so close, but you can't get past. Here is also a choke point with only 2 tiles, means only 2 daughters can get past. Because they strength in numbers and limit choke points is very dangerous when you outnumber your opponents, and it is also very useful when your opponents outnumber you. But choke points are disadvantage to you because you need to move quickly to the evac zone. You're not in a defensive position where choke points offer you an advantage. Another thing here is that you have areas without choke points, but these are longer paths. So if I was to move my daughter on the right hand side of the map towards the left hand side of the map to the evac zone, I effectively need to cover more distance because it's a diagonal. Everyone knows a diagonal is worse than a straight line. However, if I go a straight line, I end up going through a choke point here, or I end up having to pass a choke point here. So because I'm separated by this train in the middle, and I don't have teleporting skills to move my daughters up around the train, I have to all go around it. So if I have a daughter here, I want to assist a daughter here, I need to move around. I can't just move across. Now later on I will get teleporting skills such as sidestep and giant leap. I will be able to sidestep back and forth, but still my movement is limited, so I need to be very careful of how I advance and move up my daughters. Because the way my daughter is spawned, it is inefficient for the Bright Soul to move here and then all the way up, because this way is going up this way is better. However, there's an enemy blocking my path, and it's very dangerous. It only takes 2 enemies to completely block me. So I have to think about how do I advance my units in this particular mission. And it is always a challenge when the map has a choke point and you need to get to an evac zone. Okay, so I really like the map design and the aesthetics and the music, which is very daunting. And also, you're trapped on a bridge getting to an evac zone. So many times I've gone so close to the evac zone and end up losing my daughter or getting killed. A couple of things to note here is you notice how the Bright Soul gets to go first before everyone else. So the Bright Soul in rescue missions always gets to go first. Second, the enemy gets to go, then your daughters. It depends on their initiative. But in rescue missions, unlike hunt and ritual missions or survival missions, enemies gets to go first rather than you. You generally start later on the timeline. So I need to make a decision where to go here because the Bright Soul is able to move twice before my daughters are moving. So I have the choice of moving towards the right hand side because I start I have a huge advantage in the timeline, or alternatively I can move up the left hand side, which is a shorter path. Because I'm so ahead, I will move on the right hand side even though it is less efficient. Because I can go before any of my daughters go, and I'll be able to cover the distance all the way around. Okay, so we are going to end our turn here. The Kurth Therapist. So we have 2 reasonably weak enemies plus 2 decently strong enemies. So 2 range, 2 melee units, nothing to be scared of. Now I need to be careful moving up. So in rescue missions, enemies will spawn and they will try to attack you. So the position of your daughters are important. If you move too quickly too far up, this means your daughters are likely to be attacked. What it means is there are 2 ways enemies could spawn. One is you pass a critical point or a threshold, then your daughters will encounter enemies which will spawn usually behind them or ahead of them. Another thing is enemies will spawn depending on how far you down the timeline. So when you take too many turns, enemies will spawn again. So you have limited time and you're under pressure to get to the evac zone. So do not believe there's only 4 enemies here and that's all. Okay, so if I pass a threshold point, enemies will spawn. So you need to be careful when going into certain thresholds or critical points, what I would say. So what am I doing here? Why am I moving my Bright Soul close to this guy? It's because notice how this guy is facing my Bright Soul now because he's engaged in melee. This allows me to get a flank or a backstab easily. So I need to move up my daughters quickly now because I'm way behind on the timeline. And I'm going to move here actually. Alright, Clemens can go for a shot and that's really nice. And it is a flank hit. That's what we like to see. So I'm all counting on Bella to be able to do some damage, and this is why I like Lightning Strike because I can move and I can attack enemies at the same time. It's almost opposite to Wrathful Rain. It's like run and hit rather than hit and run. Okay, so I'm going to move my Bright Soul up, and once I get past, I think this line, or this line, you will see enemies will spawn. So this is a positioning spawn, so it depends on the position of my daughter, additional enemies will spawn. Now these enemies will not spawn if I don't pass this critical point. If I don't pass this critical point, I'm not going to get to the evac zone. So I have to pass through this point regardless. However, later on I will get skills such as Sidestep and Giant Leap. And if you only move with Sidestep and Giant Leap, you can actually bypass this threshold. It means if you get to this threshold, without actually moving but using teleporting skills, enemies will not be triggered. So you can use teleporting skills to avoid triggering enemies. That's something important to know.
Bleed them dry.
You hear him? See, 2 enemies are spawning. One and two. One pretty strong enemy called the Plague Guard, and the other enemy a bit weaker, the Plague Doctor. Okay. So again, why did I move my Bratzo here? It's because I'm facing this enemy. I'm forcing this enemy to face me. This way, I can go for a backstab. Okay, so I need to be careful here because I don't have many choices. I need to attack this enemy. So I could go behind him and then go for a backstab, or I can use slam here. If I do this, I'll be able to delay him, but I will not go into burst. Now this enemy, because I'm very close to him, this enemy might run away and start to hit me, but I'm not particularly worried because he doesn't do a lot of damage. He only does 150 damage. I'm not particularly concerned. If he does run away from me, I don't really care. I could probably stop him if I manage to kill him using Clemens. So I want to target the right enemy. So I missed it. So I have a difficult decision now. Should I kill this enemy or should I go into burst? So I'm going to kill this enemy, even if I have
Whatever
to
we can to prevent this torture.
go into burst. Right, I'm gonna move my daughter here, and the reason for that is Clemens is the furthest down the timeline at 100. This enemy is going to have to target lock her. Yeah, this enemy is going to target lock her, and if he decides to target lock her, he can't do it from this distance. Okay, so the cursed therapist can't do it here because I'm outside of the massive shot range. Because of the line of sight that's been blocked by this fallen train. This means that this cursed therapist has to move around the corner. If he moves around the corner, then this enemy will be exposed to attacks from my daughter. So I'm basically hiding my daughter, forcing them to make difficult decisions. So they have to come around in order to target lock me. If they come around, they're going to have a real problem because they're going to be closer to my daughter. Right now, he's far away from my daughter, and if I'm going to go and attack him, I have to go into burst. So if I do that, I don't need to go into burst, and I'll be able to attack him. So I will have to use this skill to try and to get the kill here.
No mercy.
Okay, so I'm going to position my daughter right here exactly. So if this person decides to go around, he has to come around here, and he's going to get into the range of Bella. Now if you're 3 tiles away from them diagonally, generally they won't run away, but if you are within 3 tiles straight from them, I think they will run away. So let's see what this guy does. I'm not particularly worried because he doesn't do a lot of damage. Okay, see, he decides to go around and target lock Clemens. So he will be able to attack Clemens and hit her, but he's also exposed himself, or exposed herself to getting hit. Okay, so I'm going to advance my Bratzo because my Bratzo is able to move before these enemies move, so it is fine. Again, enemies are spawning here because I passed a threshold, which is this bar. It's where near this telegraph pole. Alright, so I'm again having a difficult decision. What to do with Rebecca. So I will need to move up here and attack this person, otherwise I risk getting hit by the massive shot. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to move Rebecca here because I will need to engage this enemy, otherwise the Bright Soul will be alone. So I'm going to wait for Bella's turn, and because Bella can easily defeat him with one hit,
Impressive.
then I'll be able to move Bella up. And you notice the skull on the timeline? The skull means enemies are going to spawn. And generally they will spawn around 30 to 40 on the timeline, so be careful of the skull. So we can now see 2 plague butchers have spawned behind us. So they're trying to box us in, and this is what makes this mission difficult. So we need to think about exactly what to do. Alright, so the Bright Soul is able to escape exactly to the evac zone by making a big move. So that's what we're going to do. Because the Bright Soul is
Another terror to haunt us.
because the Bright Soul is basically the Bright Soul can't do anything. It doesn't have any skills. It has leave and 600 points of health. I can't use it as a cannon fodder, so I'm not going to use the Bright Soul. So the sooner I can get the Bright Soul out, the better it is, because this way it allows me to, how do I say this? It basically allows me to have less things to worry about. Okay? So I'm going to move my daughter up here again. So I'm exposing my back. I'm exposing his back to my Blade Master. So my Blade Master can go in for a swift kill if I decide to do that. So I need to check Imbue Blade, which does 927 damage. I have to think about it. I don't know whether I can take this person down. I think I should be able to. With a backstab, 927 damage should be enough. Otherwise I would take a big hit to my face. I'm just thinking whether I should use an armor buff to guarantee this. These are difficult decisions. Yeah, Alright, I will use an armor buff. So now I have 259 armor for 40 initiative units. This guy, I'm in this guy's melee range, so he will take a hit at me, but I'm not particularly worried because of my super armor. So you notice how much damage he does? 420 damage. And I only have 259 armor. You might be wondering, well, that you're gonna take 150 damage of hit? You're gonna take about 150 damage? No, I won't. I will not take 150 damage, so don't worry. Okay, so I need to escape from this person's melee range. So I think I can move here, right? Yeah. I just need to get all my units up as quickly as I can. Alright, that should be okay. Now, you can defeat all these enemies. I am able to do that if I decide to do so, but I'm not going to do it because it takes too much time, and also it's very risky to try to fight all these enemies. There are many of them, and they can easily overrun me. So I need to make quite a lot of tactical decisions later just to escape from them. Okay, it does 0 HP damage. And it's because armor has about a 2-fold effect. And notice it also pushes me up the timeline. So so not only does it does this person didn't do any damage, it also pushed me up the timeline so I can act sooner. Okay, and also I can armor buff again if I wish to do so. But I'm actually going to go to here and trying to engage this enemy by knocking him back in the timeline, because otherwise he's going to attack me. I'm going to end my turn because there's nothing else I really can do.
Just arrived.
More of his doctors. Or should I say acolytes?
Okay, so there's a lot of enemies incoming and I need to make a decision soon what to do. Okay, so I'm in a difficult position. I can't get out, right? I can't really do anything, so I have to attack these enemies. So I have to check which enemies should I attack first. So we have 2 enemies spawning. We don't need to worry about them because when they spawn, they can't attack. Well, they can only attack if you're in their melee range. They can either move or they can attack. They can't do anything else, and because they can't do anything else, we don't need to worry about them too much, these enemies that's spawning, because we're not in their melee range and they won't be able to move and attack. However, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy is able to attack. So these 4 enemies we have to do something about. We can either run away from them, so we can just go F this, we're gonna bail. These guys behind us ain't gonna be a problem because they are behind. So we are going to take care of this person now because that's important.
I revel in her
We have to do
strength.
this. And we don't want to go into burst. So we have to think about what to do with Bella. So Bella can lightning strike this guy, potentially do a decent amount of damage. We can move Bella here to set up an imbue blade, so we can knock out both of these guys. But that will make us to go into burst. That might be something that I'm thinking about. So I can lightning strike here, imbue blade to knock out both of these guys. So first I'm going to whack this guy. I could whack this guy again. I could whack this guy again. Lightning strike to here to take this guy out. Or I could set up an imbue blade here and knock out both of these guys. And then I don't need to worry about him. Okay, that's what I might consider doing. Because I can get 2 kills. Okay, so you notice that he's locked on me, so I need to be very, very careful. So how do we get out of this? I have a way to get out of this, so don't worry. So we need to take this guy out.
How foolish my fears.
So these 2 guys are dead. We don't need to worry too much. Clemens will be able to go next. So I'm just thinking whether I should target him. He does have 350 health. All of these enemies are not that big of an issue. I will move back because I need to protect my allies.
Flawless.
Alright, that's a big takedown.
Striking. Memories of another life. Guard them well. Drag them down.
We should be okay, but I'm just worried about these guys because they might be able to catch up to me. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm just a little bit concerned whether they will be able to catch up to me. If they can, it's a problem.
Exquisite. The doctor has sent a new atrocity.
Okay, that is the only move that I have.
Shatter them.
Not particularly worried because I'm able to move quite a lot of distance. So that was a difficult decision I had to make there because I was worried that enemies might catch up to me and I might get killed. I think I spawned a little bit too many enemies and some of the decisions I made was not the best. But I should be able to get out without too much of a problem because all the enemies are going to act later and they are very far, so they're not going to be able to catch up to me. And all my daughters are one turn from getting out, so I'm not worried. Now, I will be able to defeat all these enemies if I wish to do so, but I'm not going to try and do that. It's too risky. Let me see. I might be able to do it. Okay. Alright, so this guy is able to get to Bella before Bella acts. So that's no problem. We will use an interception round. So now I can show you guys the attack cancellation skill. So we're going to try to defeat all these enemies if possible. If it's possible. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so only this person can reach me. I'm not sure if this is even worth it, but I'm kind of committed to it now, so I'll have to do it. Alright, let's see what happens. So I tried an attack, so I'll give myself super armor. And this guy's trying to hit me. Nope, he can't do that. And someone else is going to act. Yes. So he's going to try to attack me as well. But it will do 0 HP because of the armor that I have. And it's going to push me up the timeline. That's why Blacksmith's Grace is such a useful skill. It's such an awesome skill. So I'm going to be able to do a flank hit. Notice how they're dodging my attacks. So Plague Butchers can act faster on the timeline. Although they don't have armor and a lot of health, they act fast on the timeline because they don't take as many initiative as Plague Guard. But they also have a lot of chance to dodge. So it becomes difficult to know whether your attack is going to land.
Progress has its setbacks.
Okay. You can't reach me. He cannot reach me as well. So I can go here. He's just a little bit too far. Alright, we can set up a double kill. Double takedown. So these two guys are gonna go, but Imbued Blade should wipe them out. And this guy is gonna go next. So we're gonna smack him back. I think we're just gonna go for the kill. Because it's a lot easier. Alright.
This torture.
GG. So Imbued Blade should be able to do this.
Flawless.
Alright, now I can act before they act. So if you use Imbued Blade correctly, you are able to
Impressive.
you are able to so another again 85% chance to hit. So they have pretty high chance to dodge. So because these are the last two enemies on the map, I'm going to go all out. Alright, so there's only one enemy left, so I'm easily able to get out now. So you might be wondering why I defeated all the enemy when I can go, because defeating more enemies gives you extra memory, and also it gives you more experience. This means it's easier to beat well, it just makes the remaining of the game easier. The remainder of the game easier because I'm not sure why I did that. Oh yeah, because I wanted to go for a backstab. Okay, makes sense.
Exquisite.
Because the remainder of the game will be easier, because your character will be stronger. The more you level up your character, the stronger they become. So they will have more health, they will do more damage, etc. You also get memories, which are power-ups for your, or upgrades to your skills. So that's another reason. Alright, that was a difficult mission, and all rescue missions are difficult. I probably could have done that a little bit better, but I just want to get the Bright Soul out. And notice how much experience I'm gained. And also I gain multiple traits. So when you get the Bright Soul, you can set her free or you can sacrifice her. Setting her free will give you more Vitae, and sacrificing will give you a resurrection token. We're gonna set this lady free because our daughters most have a lot of health, but we will have to sacrifice a few of them later to get resurrection tokens. Alright, we're gonna set you free.
Set them free.
Because we need Vitae more than we need a resurrection token, but later on we will need resurrection tokens.
What memory has this agony uncovered?
I hope that was the right decision, because sometimes you can run out of resurrection token. So we have Resourceful, which gives us 10 AP, and that's very important. Having 110 AP is much better than 100 AP. You will see later on why. Okay, so we'll see the traits Rebecca have. End of turn delay -5, EXP gain -5%, but critical damage increase 10. Out of the courage, she stepped, filled with wisdom. Taking no damage deceived her. She no longer wants to learn. She kind of did take damage, but self-damage in this game doesn't count as damage, you know? So we're gonna just put on some memories for her. Deal some extra damage for Jill. And Chris, which gives us critical chance. So for Imbued Blade, generally I like to increase critical chance. And now let's create more daughters.
Give life to our daughters. Please, guide her
Let's
well.
put Helena. And a shield bearer.
Now, unleash her on any who stand in her way.
Now we can do another mission, so we will do the easy hunt mission, just with our 3 basic characters in the Lost Alley. there's Plague Butcher and Scavengers. This shouldn't be a difficult mission, and I'm going to try to finish.
Take away his tools of torture.
I'm going to try to finish this mission soon because we are at the 35-minute mark. I want to finish the recording soon. I don't want the recording to be too big. I also found
Here the legions invaded and dragged this city into purgatory.
so there are 9 enemies remaining, and this is quite difficult mission because there are a lot of enemies. Scavengers are quite dangerous because they have very high initiative, and they also can gain up on your daughters, which is not something that you want to happen. So I'm going to move my daughters up, but away, not in the enemy's melee range. Because if I'm not in their melee range, they are not able to attack me. They can only move or they can attack. They cannot do both. So I found that if I export the file, like the movie file onto Microsoft Photos, I'm able to reduce the file size considerably. That makes that actually makes I'm just gonna go for the damage. So if I export the files from onto Microsoft Photos, I can go for a flank hit here. Is it worth using the AP? Definitely. Flank hits are very important because they do more damage. So I can take down the enemies in 1 hit rather than 2 hits.
Memories of another life. Guard them well.
May as well go into burst. It's not a big problem. I noticed the scavengers are going to attack
No
Chris.
mercy.
I can't let Chris take damage. So if I export the video file,
Memories of another life. Guard them well.
if I export the video file onto Microsoft what do you call it? If I export the music file, sorry, not the music file. If I export the video file that I've recorded on the PlayStation 5 to Microsoft Photos, I can then export as a 1080p file with reduced, I think it's at lower frame rate, but it reduces file size by 3 times.
Exquisite.
So that's important. I'm going to move my shield bearer to counter these scavengers. Because shield bearers are stronger and they have a lot of armor, it basically makes them resistant to the scratch damage from scavengers. So you just want to be careful of scavengers because although they don't do a lot of damage, their damage can quickly add up, making them quite dangerous.
One less to plague the innocent.
I'm going to move my Blade Master away, so I'm going to force the scavengers to chase me across the map. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to intercept them using my shield bearer, because my shield bearer is stronger. My shield bearer is also able to delay them. It makes it less likely for them to be able to get me. So I'm going to delay this guy because he's the furthest down the timeline. I'm not going to go into burst. And then I'm going to take shots at them using I'm going to take the shot at the person which is the highest on the timeline, so he's not going to be able to get me. Okay, so I see 2 enemies that are here. I see the scavenger is unable to get to me, so I'm going to move myself here and I'm going to set up an imbued blade. Hopefully this guy will be silly enough to run into my attack. Because he has to move into my melee range to attack me. I don't really care if they attack my Soul Slinger, I just can't have them attack my Blade Master. Oh, okay, that was useless because he spawned. I always do that. I don't check the timeline properly. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter, it has no consequence. So I'm gonna continue delaying this guy. So why do I use Slam rather than Lunge? Because Lunge can miss and Slam cannot. Even though it says the hit chance is 85%, Slam is guaranteed hit. It cannot miss. I never missed with it.
Plague
So.
the innocent. Exquisite.
Alright, that guy made a mistake. He shouldn't have done that. So, that should be a simple one. Alright, GG.
Flawless. Shred them
Alright,
down.
that was a reasonably easy mission. But don't let that deceive you. Alright, everybody
Come
got
what may,
one
we
skill.
will slow suffering's progress. Though the danger passes, we must prepare for the next.
So, because I may need to sacrifice daughters, I'm going to mirror the same skill as my previous daughters. Basically, the same thing. Now, I will normally have 3 teams, shadow rounds. Normally I will have 3 teams, and the team 1 and 2 will be the same, have similar skills. Team 3 would have slightly different skill sets. Now, the skill sets will change later on, so don't worry. I will explore different skills later on. But for this team, I will have the same skill set. Alright, so we are going to advance to the next day.
Suffering manifests again. We must rise to face it.
Cut deeper. Deeper still? The answer hides, buried in the flesh. Life unworthy of life feeds our inquiry. What we do is a mercy to the world. A mercy.
What memory has this agony uncovered?
You have discovered the despicable surgeon. You can confront him now or take time to prepare, but he will inevitably attack on the 7th day. From now on, you will be able to fight him starting from the first day of your next recollection. Losing to him will immediately end the current recollection. Continue. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. So the small skull with icon means we will be able to encounter the boss. The big icon skull means that we have to fight the boss. We have 2 synopses, a difficult mission and a penance mission. You got your first penance synapse. Expanded each one of your daughter to make them escape this purgatory. Penance will not give you any vitae, but your daughter will earn a lot of experience. So it's a hard penance mission. Penance is the only mission that I recommend to use the sub number of daughters. So suboptimal number of daughters. It says you can have 3 daughters, but you can actually do this mission with just 1 daughter. Any mission you can do with 1 daughter, but I do not recommend you do hunt missions with 1 daughter. That's silly. But penance mission, you can just use 1 daughter or 2. That's because the way penance mission work. We'll talk about more in the next part of this walkthrough. So we will explain more about the penance mission. Yeah, it's actually a very difficult type of mission if you do not manage your daughters properly. Anyway, bye.